What is up, people? It is MewMonster58 and welcome back to another video review. Today we are going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series Gamer Edition Voyager class Starscream from Transformers War for Cybertron. Now this is a figure I've personally been looking forward to a lot, especially given the pictures that we got when it was first revealed, but at the same time I do know that this figure has had a bit of contention when it comes to specifically the proportions of the chest. Now I know that there are a few people that have, they initially said that they were a little too big, that the chest obviously is too big, and I still think it is a bit too big, but at the same time, it's not nearly as egregious as it appeared in those initial pictures that were revealed or leaked to us. I can't remember if this is revealed or leaked off the top of my head, but you guys get the point. I think that this is an example of a figure where, just like movies and TV shows, where I think you should get it in hand before we make our final judgments. Obviously, everyone's entitled to their first opinions and first impressions, as first impressions mean a lot in today's world, but at the same time, again, I think it's a case of wait until we get it in hand, wait until you watch a TV show or a movie before we make our final strong opinions on whatever we're taking a look at. But taking a look at the box, you can see some amazing artwork of Starscream here as he appeared in War for Cybertron. Obviously, we have the Gamer Edition Starscream, number 6 here, Studio Series, Transformers. You got the Generations logo here as well. Again, more Transformers War for Cybertron right there. As you guys know, the way I started my channel was to do a Transformers War for Cybertron Let's Play. So this game means a lot to me personally, as well as I played a lot of it. I think the last time when the servers were online for this game, before they took them down, I looked at my playtime. I had about 576 hours in multiplayer alone. So there was a lot of time I spent playing that game. But again, very nice artwork, very similar to the one obviously that we see. There's just the artwork that we saw just extended here. And then obviously here we have our obligatory product shots. You do have the background is primarily dealing with the scene the location in the game where you first meet Starscream, or one of the first locations. I think it's one of the Energon refinery plants in the game. And then you do have the, again, obligatory product shots, Transformers to 27 steps. But that is about it for the box. And so without further ado, let's get this guy and see how he looks in hand and how he feels. Alrighty, folks, here we have the Transformers Studio Series Gamer Edition Voyager class War for Cybertron Starscream in his vehicle mode, in his jet mode. And I gotta say, this is a pretty awesome representation of how the jet looks. Now, as you can see, I do have the weapons attached. It's ridiculous weapon storage. This is obviously not how it actually is in the game, but you can see, let me take them off right now, and we'll take a look at these right now, actually, because they are relevant since there is weapon storage. So, this is the mace, and this is very similar to all of, this is pretty much as spot on as you can get when it comes to the maces that all of the Starscreams had, Starscream, Thundercracker, Skywarp, this body style of Transformer had in the actual game, as well as if you played the Scientist, which was the medic class, the support class in multiplayer. If you use the Starscream chassis, this is what they use for their melee weapon, and I think it's well represented here. You can see very nice molded in detail here. Very, very nice all around. I love the paint. It's not quite metallic, but it's close to it, but very, very nice purple here. Looks good, even though that this is inaccurate, because basically all of this should be black, and then the internals should be purple. But again, I'm not going to knock off on them too hard here. Very nice handle, just in this gray, but again, nice molded in detail. Overall, very well done for this little mace that we got here, so we'll set that off to the side. And finally, here we do have the Null Ray, which was Starscream's signature weapon in the game. For those of you who don't know, the Null Ray was the sniper weapon, only available initially when you're building your classes to the Scout class, but very well done, I think, besides the lack of paint. All of this is very accurate to how it looked in the game, both in even Fall of Cybertron as well as War for Cybertron. You can see the very nice molded in detail here. I just wish this was painted, because this section here was entirely black. The scope was also black, and then this was blue. And in addition, this was also black. This little tip right here was also, let's see if we'll focus there. This little tip right here was also black. So a bit unfortunate with the lack of paint, but it is molded very nicely, so I think that is very nice. But taking a look and setting off to the side, let's take a look at the jet mode. This looks very, very nice. I think it is very accurate to how it looked in game, with a few minor things. I do think that looking at this now, it might be a tad longer than I'm thinking it is, but I also might be wrong. So what I'll do actually real quick is I will Here is the Starscream jet as we see in the Voyager class figure, and then I'll put a picture of the actual jet from the game, and we can see how they compare and stack up. You guys decide whether you think that this is a little longer or not than the actual jet in game. I can argue it maybe from either way. I do think that it is fine otherwise, though. I do think it looks solid. The only issue I kind of have with this is that there's a lot of gray, and I wish there was a little more paint to sort of make this area pop. I understand that Starscream, a lot of him in the game was gray. I understand that, but at the same time, it doesn't make me wish that a little bit of this back section here was a little painted, because you can see when you turn it like this, you can see there's just a mountain of this gray. But it's very nice where the parts are painted. You have the nice sort of maroonish, mahogany-ish type red plastic here, very, very nice. You can see some nice painted purple detail, specifically here in like the boosters here. You can see that painted detail there, very nice. For the cockpit, you can see the nose. Obviously, we do have the Decepticon logos here on both wings. You can also see some very nice painted, essentially like turbines. Here for like the darker sort of purple parts, you can definitely see the very nice Decepticon logos here as well, and then you can see the nice purple paint that's carried around here. Whoops, one part I missed was through these little winglets here, what will become his feet. Overall, really solid. The only other issue that I currently do have, on the underside, it looks a bit funky, and you can obviously see his head, so you can definitely tell this is a Transformer. But the one part that bothers me is this little section here. The way that you have the arms folded in here, I wish that, I don't know, I wish that it was covered up better, and I wish that these kind of, these parts of the arms kind of slotted into place here rather than just sort of resting randomly, because you can definitely see my hand go in and out there. It's very not filled in here. But other than that, this is a very, very solid jet mode, and I think they did a very cool job. The only thing I guess that's missing when it comes to this and the original War for Cybertron Deluxe figure was that he essentially came with, I believe, the Neutron Assault Rifle as it appeared in Fall of Cybertron. And then just like most Starscreams and Skywarps and Thundercrackers, they had little 5mm here where you could put the guns here to simulate how the null rays would have attached in, G1 or something like that. Very, very unfortunate in a way that they're not here, but at the same time, I'm not necessarily angry because it didn't have them in the first place. And that's, real quick, that's also the time, I think, to talk about the design of Starscream in War for Cybertron. I think it's fantastic. I think it did a great job of giving us an idea of what these guys would have looked like prior to actually landing on Earth in Generation 1. Because in my brain, this is my personal headcanon, I always like to think of War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron, the High Moon games, being the precursors to the G1 cartoon. Now, I know that's not true, but at the same time, in my brain, that's how I feel it works out, and that's how I feel like it's a good way to look at the entire continuity of the Transformers universe. But again, that's just my headcanon. So, we're going to do some quick comparisons here for the vehicle mode. So, taking a look, we are going to set him off to the side here. Here he is with the Deluxe Class Gamer Edition Bumblebee. As you can see, obviously being a Voyager, there is a significant size difference between the two of these guys. And obviously Bumblebee is a small figure. In general, he's a small Deluxe as he usually is. But yeah, you can definitely see the very large size difference between these two. But they do look very nice together. This is about what I would expect from the in-game stuff. So honestly, really solid all around, and I can't really complain all too much. Alright, from here we have the Deluxe Barricade. Now, this is where I think that Barricade kind of shows off how not well made he was. Out of all the Gamer Edition figures, and honestly, out of all of the figures that they've released, all the way from Siege to Earthrise, all the way up to Kingdom and Legacy, this is probably the worst figure out of all of those, in my opinion, that I've purchased, that I've owned, that I've even looked up. This is probably the worst of them, and it's really sad to say that, because this guy arguably should just be a tad bit bigger than this guy. But again, as I showed you, look at the size between these two. Barricade should not be this much bigger than Bumblebee. He should be bigger, but maybe if they were next to each other, they should be like this. Now, that's enough of me talking about Bumblebee and Barricade, but again, shows you how much Barricade, in my opinion, is not very well made, and they didn't think all that well, in my opinion. Not to really diss them, but again, I just don't think that this is a good representation of Barricade in the actual game. But taking a look, you can see that they're actually relatively close in size because of how big Barricade is. They do still look good together. It's just unfortunate that Barricade, again, is a bit bigger than, in my opinion, than he should be. But overall, still solid. Just, again, it's all Barricade's fault. It's not even Starscream's fault. So there's that scale. Here he is with the leader of the Autobots, Optimus Prime. The Gamer Edition, obviously. As you can see, these two are relatively the same size. Obviously, Optimus Prime is a bit thick, right? He's a thick boy, but that's his proportions in the game. And being a leader figure, like a leader in the game, not a leader, class in the actual figure, denominations. But as you can see, they're solidly well scaled together. This is about what I would expect. Starscream's actually a bit longer, but he's a jet. You have to remember that. I do think that that this scales very well. So overall, I have no real issues with how these two scale, and I think that they did a fantastic job with it. And finally, here we do have the Voyager class Megatron, the Gamer Edition, obviously. When it comes to this, I think Megatron is undersized, actually. I think he should be a bit chonkier. I think he should be a bit wider than he actually is. But as you can see, Voyager size still applies here. Megatron is still a chunky boy, even without the tank barrel. You can see that he is still shorter, but at the end of the day, you can see that he is about the same size with the fusion cannon attached here. Taking a look, you can see. Yes, I know I had the ridiculous weapon storage, but yeah, you can see scale relatively well together, and we'll see that again in robot mode where they scale relatively well together. I do think that Megatron should be still a bit bigger than he actually is, but overall still solid scale. So nothing too crazy to complain about, although I do think that it's more of the other figures' faults for not being the best scale, specifically Megatron as well as Barricade. But other than that, yeah, solid scale. Alrighty, folks, it's time to get into the transformation, which actually isn't all that bad. It just confused me a good bit for the first few times that I was doing it, but once you get used to it, it's pretty simple and straightforward, not really frustrating. The only thing that's frustrating about it are some of the joints are really tight, and I'll point those out as we go. So first thing I like to do, come up here to the top, and then you can take these, and then you can swing them around, and then have these winglets like that, or like the shark fin, I guess you could call it. Then you come down here to the legs, and this is where we'll start. So we'll start here, and we'll untab the legs, and then this entire section can just rotate up like so. And then what you can do here is take these legs, and then what you're going to do, fold these winglets in however you feel. The instructions say a specific way, but I say however you feel because personal preference. Take these legs and accordion them. Now what you're going to notice is that there is a tab right here, and then there is a hook here on the inside of the leg. And what you're going to do is essentially you have to just press it in there like this. Then take this section, fold this down. This is essentially like a gap filler, which I think is really cool. And then you can take the toe, and then you can just fold it out, and that's your leg. So to do it again here, just take this, accordion it down, try and line up this, snap that into place, take this, rotate it down, fold the toe, and here we have essentially the bottom half of Starscream. Now we'll raise it up here to the top. To do the top, it really ain't too bad either. So to take this, we're going to remove these, accordion them out to the sides, and then we'll straighten out the arms. And then we'll take these and we'll lift them up like so, like this, so that this purple bit is resting up against this gray bit here. And then we'll take the arms, rotate them around, rotate them down and around like so. So just do that. Very, very easy there. Then take this entire section. Now, this will feel a little tight here, so just untab this and fold it down. And then what you're going to do is take this section. You'll notice here, right here, what I like to do is grab under here and hook it. And then you can take this, open it up, and then rotate the head out. Fold this back in. Then take the nose section, fold this back in like so. Fold this down. Then take this, and then what you're going to do is essentially press this into place. If everything is lined up correctly, make sure that this is all lined up correctly, because this whole chest and abdomen section will not tab in correctly if you don't. And then from here, you can take the neck, and then you can just fold it down like so with the head. Then you can take these and rotate them as you so wish. And I'll actually bring the camera down a little bit here because I'm realizing it's a little too tall. like that. And then we'll take here on back. Now, the back is a little tricky. This is the hardest part, in my opinion, of this transformation. So, you're going to take this section, you're going to unfold it, and you're going to rotate this in. Now, what you're going to do is take these sections and rotate them all the way around like so, and then you're just going to fold this back down. Now, what you're going to do is just fold these back up, and what you'll notice here is that there's essentially like this little tab right here, and then there's a little groove section. I don't know if you can see that right there. And what you're going to do is fold this in, and then you'll just rotate it around so that this rests in there and sort of tabs into place. Do the same here. Rotate this around. Make sure that tabs into place. Then you're going to accordion this up, and then what you'll notice is that there are two holes right there in the back of the back, and then there are two tabs right there, and then you're just going to press that. And then, ladies and gentlemen, here we do have the Transformers Studio Series Gamer Edition War for Cybertron Voyager class Starscream in his awesome looking robot mode. Now guys, this is awesome. This is Starscream. Like, there is no question about it. This is the Starscream that I played as in the Transformers War for Cybertron Fall of Cybertron games. This is a fantastic representation of how this guy looked, and the only qualm I really have with this robot mode particularly is in the chest. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, I do think that people were a bit premature in making the chest out to be, oh, it's massive, it's way too overproportioned. No, it's not. I don't think it personally is, and I think it is bigger than it should be, but considering the way that this thing transforms, I definitely understand why they had to make it bigger than it actually is, and they completely addressed that. They said, we know that the cockpit is bigger than it actually should be, but it was the only way that we could get the head to fold in, which I definitely understand. And when you get this guy in hand, it's honestly not even close to as egregious as maybe you saw it in the pictures when he was first revealed. This is a really great figure, and in my opinion, it's probably the best Gamer Edition figure. Like, you can argue Optimus, but the issue with Optimus is still his vehicle mode. This is really freaking ugly. But you guys can understand why I honestly would not disagree with you if you said that this is so far the best Gamer Edition figure that we've ever gotten so far. It's really freaking good. So taking a look at the details, the head sculpt is on point. I mean, I'll put the face, his face, right, is right here. I'll put the actual face of the game, like, right next to it. You can see that is amazing. That is simply amazing how close, sorry, the focus, how close that this face is to the actual one in game. It's pretty much one-to-one. You can see the very nice silver for the face, the very nice red for the eyes. You can see the nice dark purple for the rest of his head. Again, all these details for this little purple come across here as well. Very nicely done. Love the details. You can see the very nice amber cockpit as well. The red comes through here, but the gray. More of that dark purple comes out, especially in his forearms. See some more nice molded in details here. Not crazy, but very nice. You can see the wings also have the Decepticon logos still. Very, very nice. I like the pointed up wings here and how those look. Very nice. A nod to G1. Taking a look down here. Just very nice all around. Nothing crazy, but it is a great representation of how he looked in game. So overall, a really solid figure here from Hasbro. As you can see, when it comes to his backpack, there's literally nothing. Awesome. Like, literally, it's just these wings, and that's about it. His clearance is really solid all around, and I have nothing but good to say about how this figure looks. So, really solid stuff from Hasbro here. Awesome stuff. Obviously, now we're going to get into some comparisons. So, putting this guy off to the side here. Alrighty, folks, here he is with the Deluxe class Bumblebee. As you can see, that these two scale quite well together. I do think Bumblebee could stand to be maybe a tad tinier in this robot mode, but I do think that the scale is perfectly fine. Here he is with the Deluxe class Barricade. Again, I just think Barricade's too big, but I do think that Starscream does scale solidly. Again, I just think that Barricade's too big. Here he is with the leader of the Autobots, Optimus Prime, and again, these two scale well together. Optimus is a tad taller, but that's how it should work. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, here we have him with Megatron, the Decepticon leader. I do think that this scales perfectly fine just due to the fact that Megatron is bigger than Starscream, but I also think that Megatron, again, could stand to be a bit bigger because he should always be, in my opinion, bigger than Optimus Prime. So, even though I do think the scale works, I think that Megatron could also stand to be a tad bigger. Alrighty, folks, from there, let's get into the accessories. As you know, you can obviously just take the null rays and stuff like that. So you have the null ray, you have a peg there, so you can just peg it right to his hand if you want to, and then you can do something like this. Or you can obviously retain the gimmick, and then what you do is just remove the arm, and then obviously you have a peg here on the back of the null ray right here, the peg hole, and then you have the peg here from removing the arm, and then you can obviously just peg that right in, and Starscream now has his sniper rifle arm that he had obviously in the game. Really solid stuff. I do like that how they're keeping this gimmick, because that's obviously how it was in the game. So overall, really solid there. And then with the mace, you can obviously just take that and you can put it in his hand. So you have the tab there, so you just got to slide this all the way in. And he holds it just fine. And if I remember correctly, Starscream, just like many other of the Starscream bodied characters, swung it like this. So pretty cool. And his arm has the joints tight enough that he can hold it up pretty well. So overall, really solid accessories. I think they're well implemented here. Now the last thing to talk about with the accessories, so we'll remove them here. We'll reattach his little arm like so. The last thing to talk about when it comes to his accessories, and if you're gonna, there we go, a little bit of hiccup there. But when it comes to the accessories, the null ray frickin' fell. You can store them on the back. So on the back here, you do have the similar tabs to how they were tabbed in the vehicle mode. You have them here as well as here, and then you can just tab the null ray in like so. And I hope this will stay in because this is now coming out easily. You can tab that in, and then you can take this, and then what I like to do is you tab it in on the side which the tab is closest, and then you can just furthest there, and then you can obviously have decent weapon storage. It's not the best weapon storage, but it is weapon storage nonetheless. I wish there was something in the center here, but probably would have been hard to fit considering how the wings are. But overall, pretty solid stuff when it comes to the accessories, and a very nice implementation of them in his robot mode. And so from there, obviously, the last thing that we're going to do before we get into the reverse transformation is the articulation. And this is where Starscream falters a little bit. He's not the best, but he's not awful. So the head is on the ball joint, so you can get some decent up. Can't really get too much down, but you can technically get a full 360. It's just hard to get in there because there's so much junk here in this little section here. The shoulders can do a full 360, but you're going to have to move the wings around to actually get the full 360 if you want it. The arms can go out, they can go in. They have an upper rotation here at the bicep, and then you do have double jointed elbows, which is really nice, so you get way more than 90 at the elbow. Then for the waist, you do have full waist, but unfortunately, because of how this is designed, it keeps bumping in, so you don't get the full 360, which is the biggest detriment, in my opinion, to this figure, is the waist joint. But other than that, you do get forward very far. I mean, look at that. You get forward far. You get back very far as well. Just maybe you run into this, but it doesn't bend that far enough anyway. It just runs into the backpack regardless. You get a little more than 90 at the knee. You do get an upper thigh rotation here as well. And then you do get some really solid ankle rocker pivot. Not enough to get the splits, but it's enough that you can get some pretty wide-footed poses out of this guy, and I think that is pretty solid all around. So overall, pretty solid articulation. It's just not the best considering that waist joint is not really usable. Alrighty, folks, now the last thing we have to do is get into the reverse transformation. So, getting into that, really not that bad. I don't find it really difficult at all. So, coming down here to the legs, we'll start off with the legs, actually. What we're going to do is fold these out. I like to fold these out right away. And then what you can do here with the bottom part of the feet is you can take this, and you're going to have to unclip it here. But you'll unclip it here, and then what you'll notice is that there is a little tab right there, and then there's a tab hole, and then you just got to push that up like so. Do that on both sides. Both legs to up like so. This is the hard part. When it comes to the legs, unfortunately, this tab that tabs the knee in is very tight, so you have to sort of push. I recommend pushing in on this side, so pushing in on the thigh and then taking another hand and pushing out so you can get that to untap. Ow, that hurt too. But coming here, I'll fold the toe in. So if it was like this, sorry, it ended up happening reflexively, but just fold the toe in, and you can just rotate this all the way up and accordion it. So like this, and then you just got to slot it into the side like this. So again, do the same thing here. So push on this side and then pull this way with the bottom of the leg, and then you should be able to untab it, fold the toe in, then you can accordion this up, and this should just slot into place like this, and we can just leave it like this for now. Straightening up his upper body, very simple here. So take the back, and then you can untab this like so. And what I like to do, start off by untabbing these and then rotating them all the way around. It just helps you get clearance. So you can do the same here. Do this, rotate that around. Then rotate these down a little bit. Rotate the winglets so that they're like this. Then take this section, unfold it, fold out the turbines, then just fold this back down, and then you can take these sections and then just rotate them all the way forward, like so, and then just leave it like this for now. Now to get to the rest of the upper body, not too bad. So what you're going to do, rotate these and make them straight. Then you're going to untab this entire section. You're going to untab the head and neck, and then you're going to make it so that you accordion the head up so that it's straight like this, like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to rotate this whole thing up, untab this, rotate the nose out a little bit, and then fold the entire head in. Then close this up and then rotate everything up. Now what you'll notice is that there are 2 tab holes right there on either side, and then there are tabs underneath the shoulder sections, so you can just tab those in, rotate that up into place like so. Now for the arms, very simple. What you gotta do is rotate these down like so that they're straight like this. Take the arms, straighten them out, rotate them around like this. Do the same here. So make sure, by the way, make sure that these are in like this. Rotate it around and rotate it straight up like this. Now what you're going to want to do is take this and bend it straight like this so that you have something like this. So you're going to use that double joint, bend it down, then bend it up, and then you'll get that straight joint like that. Now what you're going to do, rotate them in, and then what you'll notice is that there's a tab right there, and then there's a tab hole right there, and then all you got to do is just try and tab them into place and sort of do your best so that they fill in this little gap here. Then very simple, last step is take this and accordion it down, and what you'll notice is that there are tab holes right there, and right there the insides of the legs, and you just got to line it up so that this all tabs into place, sort of force everything down. And ladies and gentlemen, here we do have Starscream back in his jet mode. Alrighty folks, for my final and concluding thoughts on the Transformers Studios Series Gamer Edition Voyager Class War for Cybertron Starscream, this guy is really, really solid, and in my opinion, probably the best Gamer Edition figure that we've had so far. He is a great representation of how he looked on screen, although that the vehicle mode is a bit drab, and you can definitely see that until you're looking at it from the top down. Even then it's a bit drab. Despite that, it is very accurate to how he was in the game, and I cannot deny that. I just wish maybe there was a little bit of maybe metallic swirl added to it or something like that that would just spice it up, or a little bit more paint application specifically in these areas here would have been nice to see all that gray broken up, because sometimes you're looking at it from a distance and it's just a blob of gray. But overall transformation is also pretty solid. There's just a couple of frustrating things because some of the joints are a little finicky, and specifically I also don't like how in the jet mode when you tab the arms in together, I just wish that this area here that when you're looking at from the top down, I wish the gap was filled in a little bit better. Getting from jet to robot and robot to jet is relatively simple, and then when you get to the robot mode, that is where this figure shines. It is pretty much almost perfect when it comes to the on-screen accuracy that we saw in the video game, again bar the chest. The chest is the only thing that is an issue, and even then, despite it being overproportioned, it's not egregiously overproportioned to where it's unbelievable. And plus, like I said, the designers, I think, gave a very good justification to why that they had to make it bigger, and they addressed that we know it's bigger than it actually should be, but unfortunately we had to do that so that the head would actually be able to fit inside of the slot that, when unfolding the cockpit. And now that I'm listening to myself talking about this conclusion, that is going to be a great string of sentences to take out of context. That's so bad. Oh, regardless, when it comes to this figure, out of a 10, I gotta give it anywhere between an 8 and a 9. I can definitely see you argue 8. I can see you argue 9. If you want to push it to 7, I kind of disagree with that. I think this is a really, really solid figure all around. Articulation, I did forget to mention, is also really solid. Again, it's just that waist joint that holds it back, which is why I'm leaning more towards an 8 rather than a 9, but I do think that it is awesome, and I wholeheartedly recommend you pick this up, especially if you are a fan of the War for Cybertron games. But I picked mine up on the Big Bad Toy Store. Actually, no, I picked mine up on Hasbro Pulse this time. I do remember this order. I picked mine up on Hasbro Pulse, but obviously you can also pick it up on Big Bad Toy Store, so I'll leave links to both of those in the description, as well as Amazon, so you guys can go and take a look at those. If you guys are trying to search IRL, I do wish you the best of luck. I hope that these are hitting retailers relatively soon. If they're hitting your retailers, amazing. If for me, they're definitely not, but I definitely know that my Walmart in specific, my local Walmart, I don't have a Target or anything near me, is one that tends to be way behind other Walmarts when it comes to getting stock in, specifically for Transformers and even Hot Wheels, actually, now that I mention it. But yeah, that's really about it. So I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe. Share this video with your friends. Also follow me in the socials, linked in the description below. And with that, guys, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Peace.